Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ace Football Academy. This is our Friday footy talk. Coach Hamilton, alongside Coach Dunham, as always. Coach, we like to spend our Fridays just sitting down and talking about what's on our mind in the game of soccer. So, for you and I, we're both going to a preseason tournament, I guess you would speak. I'm sure there are some teams that have played. There are some players that have done some on field training, but we are ultimately, for you and I, both of us are heading to Gatlinburg tomorrow to play in a tournament this weekend with our girls. So we just thought we would talk some tournament stuff. A lot goes in to tournaments, especially at the club level, whether it be the approach of the coach, whether it be the seriousness of the players, whether it be are we going to win or are we going to team build and team bond, all those things go into what happens at a tournament. So I just kind of thought it would be fun to just talk tournaments.
Well, let's be honest, Coach. We love attending tournaments.
Yeah.
Players, you and I have talked about this many times. When we look back at our playing days and we think back on tournaments, most of the time we don't remember the games that we played.
Nobody does.
I remember hanging out with the boys, being in the pool, or maybe the host hotel had a team get together,
or getting run out of the hotel,
or going to a dinner with the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we remember. It's the camaraderie, it's the friendships, it's the relationships that we're building at those tournaments. Now, in the moment, the focus that you're getting to is, are we going there to win? Are we going there to develop? Are we going there to focus on getting more formation? Am I starting lineups put together? There's a lot going on. And the fact that we're doing a preseason tournament gives us that ability to kind of mix and match, I guess you could say. Hey, let me try Charlie at striker instead of the wing, or let me try Dunham at center back instead of the holding mid. And what chemistry works in those different lineups?
So I'm going to come back to we will absolutely come back to the latter point that you just said, but I want to go back to the former.
What, me playing center back? I'll kill it.
Yeah. I watched him in the adult league. He's much more of a winger.
That is definitely true.
Anyway, you're right though. Like, nobody, when you go to these tournaments and when you look at it from a player's perspective, what do they think about? Oh, we got to throw the coach in the pool, or remember that night we played hide and go seek on a 8-story hotel, or whatever it was, right? And I think before we dive into the more intense side of tournaments, I think that is important. That is what our players are going to remember. So I think we also, as parents and coaches, that is also what we need to remember, that I say girls, I'm coaching girls. The players are there for the experience. Yeah. And they're not there to, if they win and get a medal, that'll be great for them. But I will go back to last spring or last fall. We went to a tournament over Halloween. Came in second.
Yeah.
We came in. We came in. We came in second. And I guarantee you, if you ask any of my players, what do you remember about that tournament? I shouldn't say none of them. Some of them would, because some of them are, just, I'm here to win, right? But most of them would say, oh, you wearing your top hat and having your cane on the sideline because you were Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Or we played hide and go seek in the hotel that night and you got in trouble because your team was being too loud, right? Like, that's what they remember. They don't remember the fact that, we were 2-0 going into Sunday, and then we ran into a chainsaw and got demolished on Sunday morning, right? That's not what they remember. They remember the fun, the camaraderie, to what you said, points of the tournament. And so I think that we're gonna dive into a lot of aspects of tournaments in this episode, but I think and I hope that we remember to come back to the point that sometimes, maybe all the time, for our players, it's not about what happened on the field. It's about what happened off the field with your teammates.
And I think you and I are on the same page here. You know, I think we both have heard about the coaches who say, when you check in your hotel, get a decent meal, get a good night's rest. No one's doing anything Friday night. You play your games, and the coach at the second game says, "Hey, no swimming pool,
No in the pool, yeah.
no running around, no horseplay. Anybody getting hurt? Everybody go back to the hotel, get a good dinner. I want everybody in bed by 9 or 10 o'clock." I understand the reasoning behind it, but if you're dealing with kids high school and down, they need to enjoy themselves.
Absolutely.
And just like you said, it's the experience that they're getting out of this. It's not just the game experience, it's the tournament experience all around. You know, it's the hotel, it's hanging out with their teammates, hanging out with other families within that. It's not just your family, you're hanging out with other families and their siblings and their parents, and you're hanging out with the coaches. Coaches are attending the dinners with the teams. You know, like I said, we're going to the tournament this weekend. We have already reserved a spot at a restaurant for the girls, just the girls. The parents are showing up, dropping their kids off at this restaurant, and they're having their own meal by themselves. Yeah. And then the parents are going to go to somewhere close by and have their thing. And I think you and I are trying to address that you need to allow the kids be kids. Yeah. When they show up for the game, let's be mature about it. Let's do our business. But when the games are over, they need a moment to let things out of their system. They need to laugh. They need to giggle with their friends. They need to tell stupid jokes. They need to go out and have, laser tag competition. Go to putt-putt. Whatever it may be, have a dinner together. They need to have those moments. So if you're the coach that's saying, we're not having any fun, you're going to a hotel and you're staying there and that's how you're going to do it. We're there to win. That's it. You got to realize there's more to it than just the games. And I think we're on the same page of, hey, game time is game time. Free time is free time. There needs to be a separation of those when you're at those tournaments.
All right, so we have a lot to get into with tournaments, but since this is what we just talked about, I'm going to hit you with the free time, fun time question.
Yeah.
And how you handle it, and then we can go with how I handle it, and then we can actually go into what we plan to talk about. But, so, we talk about those coaches who, like, if you're going down on Friday night, don't get in the pool because we play at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Or, hey, if you're going down on Friday night, I send a message on Saturday night at 10-ish that says, hey, my players need to be in bed. It's not a curfew, but I do put it out there to the parents, and then, they'll do what they feel obligated to do, right? So I want to go back to your statement of when it's time to lock in and go versus the fun time. How do you handle, as a coach, your team plays at 9:30 on Saturday, and they don't play again until 5 o'clock on Saturday, right? So there is some downtime there. So, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, I don't want them in the pool. I don't want them going to the Mexican restaurant and eating all you can eat tacos, right? So how do you handle that as a coach in that moment where, okay, we are here for the experience, we are here for, the memories. However, we do play a game in 4 hours, so I need everybody to relax for a second.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I said, there's two separate boxes. There's the game times and there's the free time. Now, if you have 2 games on Saturday, Most tournaments are set up that way. So let's backtrack a little bit. On Friday night, I'm not planning anything.
No.
Everyone's showing up at different times of the day, different times of the night.
And some come in Saturday, and
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And so my point I'm saying is there's parents involved here. And you got to let the parents parent their own children. And if you don't like how they're parenting, you need to just back off of that. Especially on the first night. If they want to let them get in the pool on Friday night,
No, I agree.
that's up to their parents. I'm not going to step in and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. I don't think that's a part of a coach's job.
Agreed.
However, when it comes to the day of games, let's say you played your morning game, and like you said, you've got 4 hours for your next game. I will address the parents in a way that says, I would prefer that the kids not go swimming. They need to get a good meal. They need to get a little bit of rest and come back ready to go for the second game.
So now I'm just learning from you.
Okay.
Do you have that conversation with the parents? Do you put it in a team chat?
After the first game
Or
that
do you
morning.
tell the player, like,
So I've done this many times. After the first game on Saturday, I've got the players and the parents. Hey, I got everybody right here. I tell the kids after the first game, hey, we're going to meet over at the corner of the field.
yeah,
Bring your parents with us. We're going to have a team chat. And I address everyone
interesting. Okay.
about what I would prefer. I don't say, iron
right.
fist type of thing. I would prefer we don't go swimming before our next game, get a good meal. And then I would probably address, hey, this evening, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The
Be
only,
safe and
just like you said, the only exception to that is I would like them in bed by 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Other than that, let them have fun.
Yeah. I love that. I've never thought about having that at the end of your first game on Saturday to say, hey, players, we're meeting over here by the corner flag, but I also need you to go get mom or dad.
Well, you and I both know this. When we use our apps and we put in messages, how many parents are actually reading it?
Yeah.
How many parents are responding to it? How many of them are even going to remember that you even read a message? But when you have that face-to-face, and they just walk away from that game, they're going to their car, oh, well, coach just said we can't go swimming. You know?
I like that a lot, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to use it this weekend.
Yeah.
So thank you for that for me.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Coach, let's dive into just the tournament aspect of it. I love, we kind of got off on a tangent there, but I think it was a good tangent. I think it'll be beneficial for those listening. So let's talk about our approach to tournaments. I normally do a mid-season tournament, right? That is just how I normally do it. Like, kind of gauge where I am and things like that. We played 2 or 3 games.
Well, not to mention preseason tournaments, you got to deal with weather unpredictability as well.
So, to that, you and I are both attending a preseason tournament. Well, what I'm calling a preseason tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
Because we haven't played any tournament or regular season games. Regular season starts next weekend. We've battled some weather. We've battled some, field space issues.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just let's just take this approach issue let's just take it in 3 ways. So starting with, what is your approach heading into a preseason tournament? I would imagine, I can just tell you, the girls that I talked to Saturday morning at 7:45 a.m. because of course we got the 8 a.m. match. When we gather together at 7:15, 7:30, they are not gonna like it when I say, or not gonna like it, but when I say, hey, we're just trying to see what we got, they're not going to like that terminology. They're going to want me to say, if we don't win this game, then we stink. Right? I mean, that's what they're going to want. But,
And that's the mentality of the age.
Correct. But as a coach, how do you approach pre-season tournament, especially in an era where you haven't seen your team in an 11v11 situation
Yes.
very much at all.
Yeah. So for me, I look at the preseason tournament as an opportunity to, as I said before, mix and match. We've had scrimmages, but it's not full-sided. And if it was 20, 30 minutes of whatever after it already having a practice. I'm figuring out my starting lineups for the season. You know, is Hamilton better for me at the striker position or at the wing position? Is Dunham better for me at the holding position or at the center back position? This is an opportunity to find out who works better with other players in certain positions, and is what I had in my head actually working out the way I wanted it to. You know, we all see things in practice like player A, B, and C. They're screaming, "I've got wing play all over me." When you get in the game, it's like, oh wow, that's not working.
How do you handle
Playing time?
well, let's get to that. But
Okay.
I guess my next question would be, how do you handle not necessarily player, because sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes the player expectations, because you are talking to them more and they know what they're getting themselves into, sometimes the player expectations are more on the same level as the coach. How do you handle parent expectations? And they're just like, we paid for this tournament. What do you mean we just went 0-3 and you are proud of how we competed, or you are satisfied with what you saw?
That's
You
a
know what I
great
mean?
question. I think a lot of that is dependent on the level of team that you're currently on.
Yeah.
You know, if your club has an A, B, and C team and you're on the C team, well, let's be honest here. You can't expect to go into a tournament expecting to win all 3 games or expecting to win the tournament. If you're the A team and you're playing in the Premier League and you're playing in top-notch tournaments, you're going in there with expectations to at least move on to the next round, I think. It's tough to go in those tournaments and say we're going to win everyone. I think that's the mentality of it. But I think the expectation is, hey, we want to win games to move on to the next round. And as far as dealing with parents, I think that has to be addressed in your parent meetings.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to tournaments in March, we're going to a tournament in April, and we're going to end it in May. Here's my expectations as a coach for each tournament. Preseason, here's my plan. We're going to mix and match. Mid-season, we're going to see where we're at. End of season, I'm going in there with the sole purpose to win the tournament.
Okay, so again, I think you and I both agree on that, Link.
Yeah.
Preseason tournament, we're going in to just kind of see what we got. And,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I know you play center mid, but I want to see you as that 11, right?
Yeah,
or,
right.
Hey, I want to see you as that. Let me give you some run at striker, or, you know, whatever it is, right? So we know that is kind of how we envision preseason tournaments. Let's go into. I mean, and I think our in-season and post-season tournaments are the same. You know, in-season, hey, where are we? Post-season, hey, we should look to win this.
Yeah.
I think you and I are both talking about the age groups that we coach. You know, I'm coaching a middle school team ultimately. You're assisting a high school team, so you're going into those tournaments expecting results, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not an academy coach going into.
Well, let me dig in that a little bit deeper. I'm going into preseason expecting to see what we've been working on since January.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
Not just going in and playing boom ball or watching somebody, you know, ball hog. I want to see the things that we've been working on. As I've told you before, I've been implementing an attacking strategy. I want to see glimpses of that attacking strategy come to fruition in the game. We are well aware that things aren't going to go the way we plan,
right,
100% of the time, because the other team is going to disrupt that. But
yeah,
I want to see moments. I want to see you playing the feet. I want to play into the wing. I want to see you play give and goes. I want to see you breaking the lines. Yeah. Are we doing that in that first preseason tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's talk. Let's just shift gears to the mid-season tournament, maybe even a little bit the end of the season tournament, because I think an important part of this, and we're already at 21 minutes. We could talk about this all night, I think. So I don't want to run over our time,
Sure.
but one of the biggest things for me so I don't know. I go back and forth, and this is just my brain being a crazy brain. Am I going to use my my regular season games to get ready for an end of season tournament?
Okay.
Or am I going to use tournaments to evaluate players?
That's a great question.
Right?
That's a great question.
So that's where, and I'll be honest with our listener, like that's where I struggle. So
And I think the reason you say that is in season, you pretty much know the teams you're playing.
correct.
In tournaments, typically, you're going against teams you have no idea who you're playing.
Wait.
And now you really get to see players be like, I don't know who this team is. I don't know what to expect.
I love that you said that because my favorite preseason or pre-tournament, like right before we step on the field, is hey, I love tournaments because it's not about them. It has to be about us. It has to be about everything that we've worked on. It has to be about our ace because you can't look at me and say, hey, is this the team we beat 3-0 last time? Or hey, is this the team that beat us 2-0? Or because we don't know.
Because
So
the
it has to-
mentality is, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's an easy game.
Correct. So it has to be about us. It has to be about how we play and what we do. So that is why I love tournament. Like love
Yes.
tournaments.
Yes.
But I guess to go back to that original thought, like how do you figure out, and then I'll talk about how I do it. How do you figure out playing time in a mid-season or end of season tournament? Because I think we're being honest.
Yeah.
Preseason tournament, we're both going to play everybody. We're both going to move people around. We're both going to see what we have this weekend.
Let me go back to preseason if you don't mind.
yeah.
Okay. Again, you're talking about finding chemistry. And I don't know how many you have on your roster, but for me, I'm assisting a team that has 17 players. So he's going to have 6 players on that bench.
Mhm.
He's got to find playing time for in 35-minute halves. In my opinion, and I need to have this conversation with the head coach, you need to have a conversation with the team saying, hey, you may not get a lot of playing time in game 1, but I'm going to get you playing time in game 2.
I love that.
Because I can't give players 1, 2, and 3 8 minutes in each half to get a legitimate evaluation of them. I need to give my starting lineup a full 20 minutes of playtime and then get it sub them back in, and finish out the half. The idea here is I need to see how they play in the good moments and how they play in the bad moments. And I'm not going to get that in 5 to 8 minutes of subbing on and off.
What you just said really hit home for me because think about like the She Believes Cup is just going on.
Yeah, good point.
And think about every other bracketed, the U.S. Open, all those, or Lamar Hunt Cup or whatever it's called, right?
Yeah.
How those starting lineups are so different every single match, and you don't get substitutions until the final 20 or final 15 or maybe at halftime.
Yeah.
I love what you just said there. I wish I would have thought of that in my preseason.
Well, because now let's say you have 6 subs to start game 1, and you've had the conversation, hey, you're not going to get a lot of playing time today. You may sub for 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But game 2, I'm probably going to start you.
Yeah, and you're going to be the feature.
And I'm going to give you 20 minutes per half in that game to show me what you've got and what you've learned so far this winter training session.
In all honesty, I may send that out in some forum, and I hope, maybe I'll just send this podcast link out to my parents. And
Yeah, you should.
Should have listened. But no, but I love that. What an important way to say that.
You got to give the opportunity for them to prove themselves.
Yeah,
they all want to prove themselves. Now, when you're talking about mid-season and end of season, that's completely different now. Now you know who your players are, who your starting lineup is, who your substitutes are, who your limited players are going to be. And now you're going to those tournaments saying, we want to go in with the purpose to win as many games as possible, score as many goals as possible, and hopefully win the tournament if we can. I look at mid-season and end of season the same way. We know where we are. We know who we are. We know what system we're playing. I'm going in to win. Preseason, finding the chemistry. Mid-season, end of season, I'm going in to win this tournament. Just like you said, the parents are going to say, I've paid money into this. What are we getting out of it? I'm going in to win it for you. You've got to let me do that. Your kid may not get the amount of playing time that you like, but we're going in to win these games.
I mean, what a great. I think the way you described that was perfect, and I think a lot of players should hear it. I think a lot of parents should hear it. Where look at even these pro tournaments, where and Alex Morgan is coming off the bench. I know she's trying, but she comes off the bench in the 75th minute, 90-minute game.
Yeah.
Right? And nobody's losing their mind.
Right.
She knows what's happening. She knows that, hey, I got to see what a Jaden Shaw has. I got to see what those players up top have to figure out can they help us win? Or do I need to find somebody else who can help us win? Right? So I love that you brought that up. Coach, I guess
Well, Coach, you've asked me a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm going to throw something at you here. When you're going to tournaments, and just like you said, a parent's not happy. You've played game 1, game 2. Let's say you win 1, you lose 1.
Okay.
A parent comes to you after game 2 and says, Coach, we paid a lot of money. We got hotel, we've traveled, and my kid played 10 minutes the first half, 10 minutes the second half of both games. Why are we here? How are you handling that one-on-one conversation in that moment?
I guess it would go back to the tournament we're in. Like, am I in a preseason tournament?
We're mid-season.
All right,
We're mid-season.
Because if I'm at a preseason tournament, then I probably feel like I failed at that point, right?
Okay.
That player should be getting some more reps on the field in a preseason tournament. But all right, let's move to mid-season. And I guess my answer to that would be, how has your player progressed from that preseason tournament or that preseason game till now, right? And I hope as a coach that I have looked at Chris and said, hey, Chris, I need you to get better, in decision making or in positioning or whatever it is, right? And so I've given you opportunities to work on that. I've given you regular season games to work on that. So in that moment, I guess my answer, this is going to be unpopular, I think, but I guess my answer is we are looking to gel as a team. And in mid-season, we have to start to develop those roles as a player. And not everybody can be a starter.
That's true.
And so it may be a tough conversation between Dad and I, but I may have to say the 10 minutes that your daughter got in the first half and the second half, that's where she is as a player right now on this team. Like, my big question in moments like that, and I think it really humbles parents and even players when players ask me, and they say, hey, how come you're not playing me? And you look at them and you say, who do you want me to take off the field? Who do you want to replace?
Yeah.
And they look at me and say, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you play, and again, this goes back to players who can be more, what's the word, dynamic with their position, right? Like, I don't have to just play the 11. I don't just have to play the outside back. I can play the left wing too, right? Because I can say to you, what are you? I hate to phrase it like this, but it is ultimately, are you better than Chris right now?
It's having that honest conversation where they've got to think about who they are as a player and what their role is on the team, and they've got to be honest about that with themselves.
And I think developing those roles, like that player going into the tournament that you mentioned, the parent comes to me and says, she only got 10 minutes in the first half, she only got 10 minutes in the second half. Like, I hope my response to that parent is, have you talked to your player? Because your player kind of knew that was coming.
That's the take home right there.
Right? Like,
yes,
your player and I have talked, and your player knew that based on where she was or where he was in the depth chart, I guess, so to speak, they knew they were going to only see about 10 minutes a half. So if you didn't ask your player at the end of that first game, hey, why didn't you play 40 minutes in the first half? Well, then, I mean, that, again, this sounds terrible, but that's on you as a parent. Like, ask your player for, hey, Chris, you only got 12 minutes in the first half. Do you have any reason why? And then, again, I know teenagers especially aren't honest, but at least you've asked, right? At least you can say. And that's why, as a coach, when a parent comes to me and says, I need to talk to you about playing time, I'm like, all right, great, but I also need Chris here to talk about this conversation. Yeah. And so when dad starts yelling at me about, you only played them 10 minutes, I can go, Chris, what was our conversation pregame or, pre-week or whatever it is? So I don't know. We've gone long tonight, Coach.
It's okay.
And we could talk tournaments all night for a long time. Lot of good conversation here. I hope as we get into the select season, parents and players and coaches will listen to this episode and realize that it's not just, there's a lot of points that go into what a tournament looks like, not only for your player, but for your team and for your coach. So appreciate you tuning in. Coach Hamilton, Coach Dunham. As always, this is the Ace Football Academy Friday Footy Talk. Go kick some ace.